morning is the midweek edition of Business Morning. Thank you for joining us on the program. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago.
And I'm Ladi Williams. Thank you for joining us. And finally, the long-awaited COVID-19 Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine has arrived in Nigeria with health officials taking delivery of 3.9 million doses. The vaccines arrived at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja and was received by top government officials led by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustapha. Mr. Mustapha, who is the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, says the vaccines are safe to be administered in Nigeria, though the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control is expected to analyze the vials of the vaccine. Take a listen.
Emirates Boeing 777 conveying the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines arrived the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, just before noon. Airport officials coordinate landing apparatus to ensure the evacuation of the almost 4 million vaccines from the COVAX facility. The consignment is handed over to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustapha, who is accompanied by several members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, as well as country representatives of various countries. He assures Nigerians that the vaccines are safe.
They are very effective and efficacious, and that I would urge at the time of vaccination and deployment, if you fall into the category that will be vaccinated, make yourself available. It will do you no harm. Nobody is intending to kill anybody. This is for the good and well-being of Nigeria.
In the coming months, more vaccines from the COVAX facility are expected in the country.
We are also expecting vaccines from the African Union through the AVAT platform. We're expecting some 41 million doses of vaccines from the African Union, made up of up to 22.9 million doses of AstraZeneca and about 18.4 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson.
Approximately 3.924 million doses from the Serum Institute of India is the largest single consignment to be shipped out of India, who is promising to bring another 100,000 vaccines to Nigeria.
I would also like to say that as a gesture of goodwill, in addition to these supplies through COVAX, India will also be donating 100,000 doses of vaccines for Nigeria, for which we got the approval yesterday, and it will be coming shortly as well.
The consignment is shipped expressly to the National Cold Chain Facility for storage, while the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control commences analysis ahead of the vaccination exercise this week.
This is one crucial step towards halting the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. We're still a long way off from achieving herd immunity. This would only guarantee ultimately 20% of the population being vaccinated. But what critically resonates at the moment is a further adherence to the non-pharmaceutical interventions so that Nigerians can remain safe in this period. From the cargo terminal of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Well, I hope we realize that this is not the time to politicize this. This is not one of those things we should really politicize, because administering these vaccines efficiently and effectively is really key if we must achieve the needed growth that we're seeking, for the economy. If we don't, well, we all know that our health is wealth.
Exactly. I remember the concern before was richer countries were hoarding the vaccines, but
absolutely,
now,
and then they call that like, okay, you don't have to hoard this vaccine.
Exactly.
Make it available for everybody, because if you hoard it or you don't give the other person, well, you yourself
will still have an infected world.
You are in danger. Anyway, let's just hope. I mean, it's all good.
Yeah.
And there's hope there eventually.
And more will come in.
Sure. All right, the federal government has commenced a bid process for all fortified properties, the assets, forfeited properties rather, the assets to be disposed of are those which final forfeiture orders have been secured. The permanent secretary at the Ministry of Justice, Mr. Dayo Abata, who spoke with the reporters shortly after the opening of the bid process, assures that the committee, which comprises of representatives from selected ministries, departments and agencies, will ensure accountability and transparency and accountability in the public procurement. Let's take a listen.
The institution urged the committee to discharge this important national assignment with utmost dignity, transparency, fairness, and responsibility in the interest of our beloved country. Our institution reckons with the fact that much desired change in Nigeria will come when the right professionals are fully engaged for the services they are trained to perform. As a nation, we are in a precarious situation, and all hands must be on deck to rescue our shrinking economy, especially at this time when COVID-19 pandemic has virtually grounded the global economy. Proceeds from the exercise will be a source of additional revenue for the country at this time that the revenue from the crude oil, which is the mainstay of the nation's economy, is abysmally low. It is for this reason that the Nigerian Institute of Estate Surveyors and Valuers insisted that the national interest must come before any other consideration in the execution of this noble initiative. What we are saying is that before we even start the issue of sales, there must be valuation, which is the first leg of this assignment. It's after the valuation that we talk about sales. With the valuation that the estate surveyors and valuers will carry out, there will be transparency on that issue. So it will be very difficult for anybody to talk about allowing people who are not supposed to buy the property to do so, because the public would have known the value that will be ascribed to each property.
And the strike action embarked upon by the cattle and foodstuff dealers under the edges of the Amalgamated Union of Foodstuff and Cattle Dealers of Nigeria, AUFCDN, has driven up prices of beef, food and vegetables in the South. What is the implication of this for food security in the country? Ibikunle Onosoya, Chief Executive Officer, Agric Business Services, joins us next.
We're being joined now by Mr. Ibikunle Onosoya, the Chief Executive Officer, Agric Business Services. Thank you very much, Mr. Onosoya, for joining us on the program. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to have you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, as an agriculturist, what are you making of this present situation of blockade, of food blockade in the north?
Well, thank you very much. The food blockade that we're beginning to witness from the northern part of the country, of course, is an effect, as a result of all that we have been talking about, the insurgencies that we have had, the clashes between Fulani herdsmen and crop farmers in different parts of the country, particularly, and in this case, in the southwestern part of this country. And it portends a very, very gory situation. It's an unhealthy development, and that's because we have not done.
All right, looks like we lost Mr. Ibikunle there.
Well, it's one of those things. But let's just quickly look at what's happening in the global oil market, where prices were down early today, extending several days of losses, and amid uncertainty over how much supply producing countries will push to restore to the market at a meeting this week by the coronavirus pandemic, as the coronavirus pandemic persists. All right, let's get back to Mr. Onosoya. Yes, Mr. Onosoya, you were talking about this food blockade in the north.
Yes. So I was saying it's a very unfortunate development, and it's definitely it's not what we need in this country at this time. Food security is very, very essential, very important for any sovereign nation. And of course, you know, food security exists when all peoples at all times have access, that physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food for their dietary needs and their personal preferences for a healthy and active life. Also, the United Nations took a decision long ago, in 1996 precisely, that food will not and should not be an instrument of bringing economic or political pressure to bear on the people. I mean, in the Sustainable Development Goals, you know, goal number 2, which is to end hunger and prevent a situation where people do not have access to food. Now, if the situation in this country is beginning to gravitate towards a situation where food now gets all the supply of it or the lack of that gets weaponized as an instrument, you know, to be used to bring pressure to bear, that is a very, very sorry and unfortunate situation.
All right, Mr. Onosoya, how do you think this problem can be solved right now?
Well, I think the immediate solution, and I think which I read in the social media, in the print media, is that the government, the security forces have intervened, and they have, you know, gone to Niger State, particularly to the Jebba area, where this blockade was supposed to be happening, and they have tried to take charge and take control of the situation and disbanded it. So the first thing that government should do is to stop that. I mean, it shouldn't be happening, you know, and people should not take the law into their hands and begin to do whatever they like. But unfortunately, you know, I would say this is a situation that had been building up and which we could have avoided. So government should intervene, law enforcement should ensure that that does not happen. And I think that would be the first thing. And secondly, there's need to go back to address this issue of the herder, crop farmer crisis, the conflicts. You know, a lot of people are afraid, you know, to go to their farms. I farm, for example, and since all this insurgency started, and I farm, you know, majorly in the Southwest, I have become hesitant to go to supervise my workers, to go to the farm alone. I've become very, very worried of doing that because of, you know, fear of the unexpected, if you get what I mean. And this was not the case. This was not the case about 2 years ago, but it shows that this challenge, this problem of herders and banditry and kidnapping and all kinds of conflicts and insurgencies is getting to a head, and government needs to address this problem head on. We need to have productive public conversations about how to live and coexist in this country. We cannot avoid that, you know. And this was what Professor Paditomi was saying, watching him on channel, saying the other day. This is very important. We shouldn't just, be abusing ourselves or talking tough and stuff. We all should sit down and find a workable solution to the sustained existence of this country.
All right, just a quick one before we let you go there. Do you think, do you see any implication of this for the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement which we signed in for?
I do. This has serious implications. I mean, if we're beginning to witness this kind of blockade, you know, internally within the country, you know that Nigeria is the biggest, the largest market in the African, region. And, so by the time we begin to witness food blockades, this will affect, international trade. It's going to affect, the free flow of people, and goods, and services. And is going to further aggravate the challenge that we have. Can you imagine that Nigeria is being ranked along with countries like South Sudan, Somalia, and Yemen, in the area, in the aspect that about 20 million people, out of close to 700 million who are living in starvation. We are being ranked as nations that are at risk of famine as a result of all the crises that we're going through. So we urgently and hurriedly need to do something about this, so that everything does not go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ibikunle Onosanya, Chief Executive Officer, Agribusiness Services. Thank you very much for your time on the show. We do appreciate it. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, AFEX Commodities Market Update is next.
And the total value of commodities traded on the AFEX Commodities Exchange for the week of 23rd of February to the 1st of March went up by 50% to 3.6 billion naira. In 194 deals, the number of contracts also increased by 193,899, up 48%. For details here, let's talk to Michael Martins, now Portfolio Manager at AFEX. Hello, Martins. Great to have you.
Hi, Ladi. Good morning. Great to have you too.
Good morning. So take us through the trading activities in the week under review.
All right, thank you. So if you look at the week under review, the commodities market was sufficiently green, right? If you look at the total value of transactions executed on the exchange, it went up by 50% from 2.4 billion naira to 3.6 billion naira. The total number of contracts traded on the exchange also went up by 48% from around 130,000 contracts to more than 193,000 contracts for the week under review. The total number of deals did significant numbers, posting more than 128% from the previous week's 85 deal to close the week under review at around 194 deal. The ACI and the AEI also did positive numbers over the course of the week, posting 3.55% and 1.79% over the course of the week. And I must say that this is the second consecutive positive week for the AFEX Export Index. With regards to volume, we generally had a higher volume traded this week in comparison to the previous week, with maize, sorghum, and ginger being the major culprit in the week under review. With regards to price, the commodities market, like I said earlier, was sufficiently green. We saw the biggest numbers in commodities like maize, soybean, and ginger posting returns of 5.13%, 16.25%, and 4.56% over the course of the week. With regards to losers in the commodities market, we only saw that with regards to cocoa, which lost only a marginal 0.89% over the course of the week to close at 103,400 naira per contract. The only other asset under consideration is the fair trade exchange traded commodity, which also went up marginally over the course of the week, growing up by 0.83% to close at 14,306 naira per contract. So I believe that's by and large all of what happened in the commodities market in the week under review.
All right, Michael, you talked about all the indices, of course, being in the green in the past 2 weeks. So what factors would you attribute to that sentiment we saw there?
So if you look at the weighting of the indexes, so we have the ACI, which contains maize, soybean, paddy rice, and sorghum, and they're weighted 58%, 14%, 20%, and 8% respectively. And with the AEI, we also have weights of 62% for cocoa and 38% for ginger. And the reason why they are weighted thusly is because of, number one, and the number of demand that we have for these commodities on the exchange on a day-to-day basis and even on a weekly basis. And also, secondly, would also be to consider the volume of production for these commodities, which is one of the reasons why they're imputed into the index at the end of the day.
So does the CBN recent adjustment of the official exchange rate affect activities on the commodities market?
Not particularly. We see the recent CBN adjustment from 390 naira to $1 to 410 naira. To 410 naira to $1. We see it as them adjusting to the realities of the foreign exchange market. However, historical data would also suggest that there is a fair bit of correlation between the commodities market and the exchange rate, particularly the parallel market. However, since the adjustment by the central bank, we haven't seen any significant movement in the parallel market, and that would indicate, by and large, that the commodities market has already adjusted in terms of prices to reflect previous sentiments of inflation and then GDP numbers. On the other hand, the CBN adjustment could also be seen as an attempt by the central bank to promote export, but whether or not that, eventually happens, time will tell.
All right. Now, we have seen the current trend in the food market where food commodities that are supposed to come to the south from the north are being blocked and the north there. So where can the commodities exchange play a role in all of this? Because a lot of those food commodities seem to be perishing on the way.
So if you look at what is currently going on in the market, like you earlier alluded to, most of the issues that we're seeing right now particularly concerns directly perishable goods. I believe that most people who are selling these products are having issues moving them to the south, like you said, are having to sell them at rock bottom prices. I mean, even rumors that we're hearing from the northern part of the state suggest like that a basket of tomato is going for around 700 or 800 naira. As regards commodities that are traded on the exchange, tends to have a longer shelf life, meaning that they can sort of wade through the idiosyncrasies of the crisis that we're currently having in the market. As regards what the exchange does is that when you trade on the exchange, you're essentially guaranteed quality and quantity regardless of where you're buying from, as opposed to you just buying from the open market. Because what the buyers and sellers are having to do now is they're having to make really core business decisions as regards whether or not they're going to hold this commodity and face quality decline over a period of time, or particularly just sell their commodities at whatever price they can get it in the market that is available to them. As regards how it has affected the activities of the exchange, I believe the only issue we're currently having right now is logistics and moving commodities from the north to the south. But we believe that the issue would be rectified before too long.
Okay. Now, but let me just ask this question. These perishable commodities, is there a way they can be traded on the commodities exchange, perhaps for companies that are, for instance, like tomatoes, for companies that can use it for tomato pastes?
I mean, a lot of that, we're currently investigating the possibility of doing that. I believe my colleague coming after me would also speak to another commodity that we're listing recently, which is cashew. But as regards how they particularly can be traded on the exchange, that's a very difficult question to answer. A lot of it, like I said, would have to depend on how well we can store these commodities over a long period of time, and whether or not we can start using certain chemicals to preserve their quality over a long period of time, so that we, at the end of the day, being the counterparty to most transactions, can sustainably guarantee their quality and quantity. But like I said earlier, that's a very difficult question to answer, particularly for perishable goods.
All right, thank you very much, Michael. Okay, let's have Hemense Oka, the Vice President Commercials at AFEX, join us now to talk about this new commodity that is being included in the AFEX Commodities Exchange, and that is cashew. Thank you very much, Hemense, for joining us on the program. And good morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, you currently added cashew to the products traded on your platform. What determines the inclusion of agro-commodities for trade on the exchange?
Yeah, so a lot goes into listing a commodity on the exchange. For us, we take about 2-3 years before we evaluate, make a lot of mistakes, and learn. But it comes down to supply and demand, comes down to AFEX's ability to have an impact, and finally the future potential that we see in the commodity. Cashew is growing, right? We see strong demand continue to come out of India and Vietnam, followed closely by China for the commodity. The supply chain locally is quite robust. Majority of it comes from Kogi states, with also high quality coming out of Ogbomoso. And finally, we still think that AFEX warehouse infrastructure, as well as our technology, can play a role. And down the line, there's a lot of volatility that comes with trading cashew. We believe we can develop a futures product that can add to any stakeholder's risk mitigation strategy once they're playing in the space as well. So all these factors combine and let us know that this is the right time to go into cashew.
So one of the key benefits of the commodities exchange is to bring on board a price discovery. So let's talk a bit about the price data of cashew. How was the performance of cashew? How has it been in the past 3 years?
So it's definitely been challenging, right? Corona and the pandemic impact cannot be understated here. So we've seen huge price volatility in the market. Each year we've seen swings about 60% or so. But this does create an opportunity for trade as well. Currently, the international price for cashew is listing around $1,300. Nigeria will be trading at a discount of that too, so probably around the range of $1,100 or so.
So how can the market participants plug into this new commodity?
Correct. So, given the current economy that we all live and operate in, there is this drive for earning hard currency. And so we see a lot of players come into the space wanting to participate.
Oh, okay. Now, for this cashew now, when are we supposed to see perhaps the pricing come on board?
So it's now. Our spot market trades and tracks the real season. So season starts end of February, goes till about May or so. So you can find, we'll be listing cashew shortly within a week or so to follow the trends in the market.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Hemense Orka, Vice President Commercials, AFEX Commodities. We take a moment. We'll be back. All right, let's look at the markets, and Ini John Mokwa is here. Well, we are back into the red again.
I guess it's because you're putting on red, Chimi.
Oh, no.
You're the cause of this.
I don't agree with you. That's the market dynamics there.
Well, yesterday, I don't know what happened to Nestle, but we have Afolabi Benro, who I think will tell us Nestle lost 100 naira. That's a huge sum to lose on one share. Hello, Afolabi Benro, are you there? Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Agbenro. Thanks for joining us this morning.
No problem.
So, Nestle lost 100 naira yesterday from its share price. What happened?
Well, the market has been really bearish in general. We saw a bit of an uptick when Zenith released its results last week, but the market continued to be in its bearish mode. So Nestle has actually been on offer with very thin volumes for at least a week, thereabouts, trading mostly at the lowest price of the day. Yesterday, we saw some buying interest coming around 1,350 naira, and that's where most of the transactions actually went to yesterday, and that's what caused the dip in the price.
But insurance did better. I mean, very unusual. Normally, you see the banking sector or the consumer goods, doing well, or the oil and gas. But yesterday, it was just the insurance sector that was in the green.
Yes, it was. I think so. If of recent, some of the insurance companies have actually been performing better on the exchange. There's been some renewed interest that's come into that sector. But I mean, it's very cyclical. Just like you mentioned, sometimes it's the banking index, sometimes it's the consumer goods index. Yesterday, just so happened to be the insurance index.
So it just happened. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Gbenro, and talk to you some other time. Okay, so looking at the figures now, All-Share Index went down by 0.59%. The equities cap also in the red. The value was up, only the volume and deals. The deals, well, this is just, it's less than 5,000, which is like the average for the stock exchange. And there you have it, the insurance sector. The day before it was the oil and gas and the consumer goods. No, the banking and the oil and gas, those were the ones in the green. But unfortunately now, we had only the insurance, like Mr. Gbenro said. It just happened. Well, unlisted securities, the market cap ended at 499.48 billion naira. Volume, only 6 deals took place yesterday in the unlisted securities. Going to the bonds now, 14 deals. The most interesting for investors was the 2026 bond. And none in the treasury bills, none in the CBN bills, and then in OMO, well, you always have activities there. The most favored by investors was the February 22nd, and then 11 deals took place there yesterday. Well, that's it, Chimi.
Well, let's continue to watch that market, particularly the equities market. I just don't know why we keep seeing the red. I guess it's been going on for a long time now.
I think this correction is taking too long. Will it still be market correction or still investors reacting to developments in the fixed income market? But right now, I can put it, perhaps investors are now looking for a new positive catalyst to spur their appetite in that market. But let's continue to track we'll follow them and report it. That's our job.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we do a crossover to London. All right, let's bring in Juliana now to give us an update on what's happening out there in London. Good morning, Juliana. Well, I guess it's budget. That's what's making the rounds on all the headlines today. So, it's the D-Day. What's the feeling like?
Well, there's definitely lots of anticipation and anxiety if you're a business leader or somebody who is financially suffering because of the pandemic. And both Prime Minister Boris Johnson and Chancellor Rishi Sunak have pledged to do whatever it takes to get the British economy ticking again. So we've just got a couple of hours to see exactly what that includes. As you know, Chimase, there's been lots of speculation over the past couple of days about what will be and what won't be in today's budget. What has been confirmed is that the furlough scheme, or what it's officially known as the Job Retention Support Scheme, will be extended. It's been extended several times. This latest round was to end on the 30th of April. It will be extended and wound down properly by September. We are expecting there to continue to be a business rates holiday for sectors that have been so severely hit. There'll also be lots of new money pumped into small communities. I believe £500 million will be given to communities so they can support their local pubs and clubs when they do start to reopen. And of course, as you mentioned yesterday, money will be given into the culture sector. But again, you know, there is lots of speculation. We'll just have to wait to see what comes out of Sunak's famous red box when he delivers his speech at 12:30, which I believe is 1:30 Nigerian time.
That's when you'll be talking to Laddie on Business Incorporated. Anyway, talking about speculations there, of course, Rishi Sunak is also expected to pave the way for sweeping reforms of the stock market to attract more fast-growing companies to list in the UK, because amid the Brexit. What is the market sentiment on this?
Well, again, there's lots of waiting and seeing. Chancellor Rishi Sunak will be delivering a report that was written by a former commissioner to Europe, Lord Jonathan Hall. And really, of course, you know, there is lots of pressure for the Chancellor because last month, for the first time, Amsterdam overtook London as being Europe's largest trading floor. We know that the financial services was missing out of Boris Johnson's Christmas Eve Brexit deal. So there is lots of pressure. There is lots of catch up because we know that Paris and Frankfurt are hot on the heels of trying to take over London and getting all of that market capital that they do get on the London Stock Exchange. So a report has been commissioned. Lots of talk as well about these SPACs deals. SPACs are really taking over the New York Stock Exchange. Apparently this year there's been 181 filings, and what these are is companies that file, that go public, and they get all the investment once they have gone public on a stock exchange. Is that something London wants to do? London does obviously want to be more competitive, but we'll just have to wait and see what's in the red box.
Yeah. And what are you hearing about the story that U.S. authorities have launched an investigation into allegations of forced labor in Boohoo's UK supply chain?
Yeah, not great for Boohoo. Boohoo is one of these fast fashion online retailers. Currently, the UK's largest online retailer. They make about £250 million every year in the US market, and US Customs and Border Control have announced that they are, Boohoo are under investigation for allegations about using slave labour within their factories. This story was first reported last summer by the Times British publication, and that they were paying their factory staff in Leicester ridiculously low pay, and they were working under really cruel conditions that was actually spreading coronavirus within that area. Of course, we know that an investigation by the British government did clear Boohoo from most of these allegations, but, you know, the US are putting their foot down. It's been cheered and steered by a British lawyer who still thinks Boohoo's staff are not getting their just desserts when it comes to working for the company. Boohoo said that they're aware of the allegations, but they expect to be cleared from all of the charges.
All right, Julian, I guess we'll have to wait and listen to Rishi Sunak later in the day, and you'll bring us some update. Okay, let's cross over now to the crypto market. Well, Ladi, Google has just added Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum to its finance page. So
big news. Yeah, because really? I actually thought Google was actually tracking them before now, but surprisingly they weren't. So this is big bullish news for Bitcoin.
Is the market reacting to that?
Yeah, well, Bitcoin trading now, currently right now at about $51,000. So I don't know, maybe the bull market is back on, or maybe it's a dead cat bounce.
The market correction has ended. Yeah,
possibly.
As early this morning, you talked about Bitcoin being at 48. So
it was about 49,000 this morning at 8 a.m.
And then now it's about 51.
About 51,000. So let's see. Maybe it's back on. Maybe it's just a dead cat bounce. But time will tell, really. Market cap $1.52 trillion, up 1.84%. 24-hour volume, $121.97 billion traded this morning at 8 a.m. Bitcoin dominance 60.63%, down about 0.29%. Price of Bitcoin at 8 a.m. this morning, $49,608, up 1.57%. But currently, right now, it's trading at $51,000. Let's talk to Solomon Amunde now, crypto trader. Hello, Solomon.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Good
morning, Solomon. So these are institutional investors right now. They are coming in a big way. MicroStrategy acquired about $15 million in Bitcoin recently. And reports have that BTC balance sheet shows 42 companies hold 1.3 million Bitcoin, valued at about $65 billion. What is the strategy here?
Yeah, the strategy is the wise companies that had an early eye-opener. They are diving in with all they have into Bitcoins. And if you know very well, MicroStrategy, they're already sitting at $2 billion profit. Yeah, they've been buying since last year, September, and they are holding a total of over $4 billion worth of Bitcoins, and that's massive, over 80,000 Bitcoins. That's what they're holding currently. So before the likes of Google and Apple start jumping in to purchase these Bitcoins, these other guys should have been in about 300% profits, if you ask me. So I would say it's a good one. It's a good one. And once they start selling, the other companies will be there to also purchase from them. That's the bigger companies like Apple and Facebook and Google.
But what effect will that have on the market?
Yeah, definitely it will crash the price. Yeah, to crash the price. Talking of about 30% to 40% crash. We're expecting to see that, but obviously there'll be a bounce, just like we had last week and this weekend. There'll be a bounce.
All right, so a quick one. What alts are to watch for this week?
Yeah, you really need to watch out for CRV and 1inch and BNB. They had about 40% dip and they went really low. So right now they are recovering pretty fast, and I'm expecting them to do at least 100%.
Okay. All right, Solomon, thank you so much. All right, so let's look at the other figures here. Price of Ethereum trading this morning at $1,566 at up 0.33%. Well, the funny thing about Ethereum is it has broken its all-time high in USD, but the all-time high in Bitcoin, that's in Satoshis, has still not been broken. The previous high was about 0.094 sats. Right now it's trading at 0.031, so it still has about 2x to get to the previous all-time high in Satoshis. We'll see how that goes. Top 5 gainers, EWT up 33%, $17. NEM up 22% at 80 cents. BAT, Basic Attention Token, this one's been running now, 66 cents, up 18.13%. Mana, Decentraland, one of the NFTs, up 13%, 29 cents this morning. Top loser, Sushi Swap, down 8%, trading at $18. Leo, $1.97, down 6%. So the alts are not really bearish today, because looking at this, we don't see the 20% and 30% drops we normally see, even though Bitcoin is actually rising at this time. So, Chime, it's not looking so bad.
Yeah, well, your guest there talked about CRV, BNB. That's the coin to watch. That's the
yeah.
coin
BNB, that's
to watch.
A Binance token.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
the alt to watch. So perhaps the Bitcoin space we can just leave it for the institutional investors, or should individuals like us go?
No, the thing is, there's profit in even in Bitcoin or in the altcoins. There's profit either way.
Well, the
but
fractions
you just
there
need to
perhaps
find
is what we have
the
to
right
look
entry.
out for people like me. I mean, I don't have that much of money to buy $51,000 of Bitcoin, just
Fractions.
one Bitcoin.
You can always buy fractions. But remember, it's a risky market. This is not financial advice.
But I must tell you, I don't have that risk appetite at all. Okay, that's it on the program. Thank you for watching. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago.
And I'm Ladi Williams. Thank you for watching.